Hey folks, it's Keith, Victor Echo 3 Sierra Victor Quebec, also known as the Shaky Key. And I thought today I would look at a topic. I may even break it up into 2 or 3 videos. And I'm simply going to call it making your first CW contacts. How do you go about this? What do you do? What can you expect? What sites can you go to make it happen? And I think we need to look at it from the viewpoint that we overthink it to start with. There's so much of that. We build a lot of drama into it. All of a sudden, oh wow, I got to go on the air. What is everyone going to think? I think the issue here is calm down, relax. It's a hobby. It's not life-threatening. It's not wartime. You're going to get on the air because you're going to have fun. So how do we get you through that first experience? And I'm going to say, more than one experience, because if your first one, if you're lucky, you'll remember most of it afterwards, and that's just because of all the stress. But there will be another one and another one and another one and another contact. You may do 10, 20, 15, 30. I would say in my case, it was probably closer to 30 contacts before I really started to relax and started to really enjoy it. So I think this is something that you have to look at, because now you've been studying Morse code for who knows how long. 4 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. Everybody varies. Everybody learns at a different rate. If you're involved in your local ham radio club, maybe they have a class that you've been following, whatever number of weeks or months that class goes. Maybe in one of the major teaching organizations out there, and there's several of them, including the one that I teach for. And they can get you through the letters you need to know, whatever you need to know to get you on the air. So there's lots of different ways to do it. But sooner or later, you're going to have to do it. So I'm just going to suggest a couple of ways to do this, probably maybe even 3. All right, the first one I'm going to look at today is going to be the Skcc, which is the one I used actually. The second one will be a new site called CWQSO Finder, which I think is offering excellent potential. It's a new site, so still getting going. And then, of course, the traditional one, POTA, Parks on the Air. So whether it will evolve into 2 or 3 videos, I don't know. It just depends when we get into this one, because of the subject will be a little bit longer possibly than the others. So let's look at you. You've been studying. You know your letters. You know your numbers. You may even know some of your punctuation. You feel that it's now the time to get on the air. So first off, like I say, we tend to overthink it. Part of this is, I think, all the apps and computer programs that we use now, it's not very personal, so you're not really dealing with other people face to face. That becomes an issue. In the old days, you just sat in a class with 30 other people, sending on your oscillator and so on, and you went back and forth with each other, so you sort of got over a lot of that nervousness about making mistakes, and you learned very quickly to laugh at yourself rather than get mad at yourself. You learned to laugh at yourself. And you also realized everyone else out there was making mistakes at the same time. One of the things that first-time operator tends to think, and again, it's because we're always worried what other people will think about us. What do you see? You figure, well, that first operator, when I talk to him, I'm going to make so many mistakes. One of 2 things is going to happen. One, that operator is going to be just sitting in his chair, leaning back, laughing his head off at all the mistakes I'm making. Or that operator is going to be so disgusted, he's just going to throw his hands up and say, oh, forget it. I don't want to do this. None of that is true. Morse code operators have all been there. They've all been, gone through that first contact on the air. They're a pretty good bunch and a pretty welcoming bunch, because in the end, they're looking for a contact just like you. You never know who that contact's going to be on the other end. You can't assume it's a veteran operator. It might be another new operator. So you got to put all that aside, stick to the basics. And that's what I'm going to say in this case. One, don't overstudy. We have that tendency, right? We have to be perfect. We have to be perfect. We have to get everything right. Oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm going to say. I have to take a class that shows me what to say. I have to take another class so I can do head copy. No. Down the road, that's all wonderful stuff to do. What you have to do, get on the air. Because once you're on the air, you will be surprised at how fast your speed picks up. Your comprehension, your copy ability picks up, your sending ability picks up once you're on the air. And that's the key thing with all of this. Don't spend your lifetime studying when you should be on the air. And that's the one thing I always say, don't overdo it. The sooner you can get on the air, the better. And you can use myself as the example. I did the first level, was in the second level, and I said, oh, this is nuts. I'm just going on the air. Because I knew enough to what I needed to do to get on the air. And I did. And first day, plenty of contacts, nice people who were congratulating me, publicly or by private messages. It was a nice feeling. And it was such a nice feeling, I kept going back. And I kept talking to more people and contacting more people. And that was the Skcc, Straight Key Century Club. And now for that, you can't use a paddle, or you can use a bug or a cootie, but it's the old manual key is what we really look at here. They were just a great bunch. I called CQ prior to that, called CQ for maybe, 15, 20 minutes, not even a bite. And I simply logged in because I was a member. I logged in and I posted, QRS, want to make my first CW contact. And I just sat back. I had 5 people contact me, right? All by private message, nothing out in the public so other people would see what we were saying. None of that. Nice little private message. Love to help. What band do you want to work? How many words per minute do you want to try? And just went from there. We picked a frequency, and as they said, I can call them or they can call me, whatever. And we went through it. So they were super, and I still spend a lot of time in there. So when I'm in the Skcc now, I'm generally looking for new operators who I know are getting over the shakes, or for those that post, brand new, looking for a contact. I'm always one of those who will say, sure, let's do it. How do you want to do it? What speed? Do you have a frequency? If not, let's find one, and so on and so on. So you will find that there's a lot of people out there who like to do that with you. One of the things that you can do to sort of break some of the tension, the stress, get yourself a code buddy, right? Someone like you, just learning. Most of you are going to be pretty much at the same level. If you're following an organized schedule, a classroom schedule, you're all at the same letters and so on. And do that even before you get through the alphabet or whatever it is, however they're teaching it to you. Get one early, even if all you're going to do is send the letters that from that particular class. And I always tell my students, look at the call signs, because we're all in Zoom rooms. And sometimes, it's a large class, sometimes it's a small one. And I always say, look at the call signs. Look them up in QRZ, Canadian, QRZ, and send them an email. They're in the same time zone for the most part, or at least they're free at the hour that you have your class. Maybe they can be free at another day at the same time. Send them an email and say, listen, I'm looking for a code buddy. You're in my class. Is this something that you'd like to do? Get yourself a Zoom room. right? If you're in LICW and you're both members, there are Zoom rooms that are often open. If not, just get yourself a Zoom account, each of you, and you've got 30 minutes or whatever, which is free. Go in there and practice sending to each other. Nothing wrong with that. It'll help you get used to making mistakes in front of someone and having a good laugh about it. I make mistakes when I'm on the air all the time. Sometimes I swear at myself and sometimes I laugh at myself because I know that most of the time it's a silly mistake. You just do it. We all make mistakes. The veteran operators make mistakes. You can hear that sound when they do. Listen to a POTA operation. How many times do you hear when people make a mistake? We all do it. So it's nothing for you to worry about. It's not like you make a mistake and your radio catches fire because you made a mistake. Nothing happens. You just carry on. And that's the name of the game. Now, I know one of the things that helped me to settle down a little bit, most of the websites that you will use or organizations that you use will have a suggested format or script, whatever you want to call it, cheat sheet. So you can go in even into the Skcc. They will have a sample as to what they think you should do. So if you make yourself that script, and they're relatively easy to do, keep it somewhere. And mine was originally on a stand right beside my computer and my radio. So I knew what I had to say, but I could also practice it. So before I actually went through with it, I practiced and practiced and practiced that script. Now I will say, here I am, many months later. That's part of my warm-up. So if I'm going on the air today and I want to, contact a few people and I'm going to do it through the Skcc, I put that script up and I send it 2 or 3 times just to loosen up, get my mind thinking in Morse code, loosen my fingers and my wrist and so on up. And, it's just a nice refresher. So that's something you can all do even before, you're ready to get on the air. So do that. It will give you a little bit more confidence that you know what you're doing and help to settle you down and get rid of some of the nerves. There's always some nerves going to be around, so that's just the way it is. All right, so this is what their page looks like, and I think it's important that you take a good look at it. In the center of the page, you can see there's like a chat. This is an open chat that anybody can do, so you may find someone post a message to you in there rather than by private message. If you look at the top under where it says welcome and then my call sign, it says enable PMs. That's an important one to click because that allows some of the other operators to send you a private message, same as you would with a chat program on one of your cell phones. So if you look over next to my VE3 SVQ, you will see there's an exchange here where I've written, that comes up in green, QRP PM number exchange will help new ops with a contact. So that just lets a new op know if I go active that, click on me, send me a private message, we'll work something out. That's one of the ways you can do it. So instead of you putting what I have there, you would write QRS, new to CW, looking for first contact. That's all you have to do. When you go active, that is going to appear next to your call sign, similar to what you have here with CT7BEG. He's on 24910. So there's someone, if you were here, you could go to that particular frequency and he's going to be there and you could message him and so on. It doesn't show a lot of people today here, but don't be fooled. There are a lot of people who, including myself at this particular moment, would be considered a lurker. I like to lurk. I like to read who's coming in. I don't necessarily log in and you'll see my name under all those other ones, all right? So that's something to keep in mind. So if you go active, that's what happens. You come up and your call sign is sort of highlighted a little bit. There's my contact there. So anyone looking around now could see me and decide if they wanted to do a QRP contact. Those are the things that happen. I'm going to go inactive because I don't want people messaging me right now while I'm making a video. But that gives you an idea. There's probably several dozen, in some cases, especially in the afternoon and evenings, you could have well over a dozen people lurking who will be quite likely to send you a private message to make that contact. So it's a very easy process. It's a very simple process. Uh, you know, people want to see you. People want to contact you. All right, so keep that in mind. You can change other settings and so on, but that's the easiest way to do it. Just go in like that. You won't have any problems to get started anyways. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind once you've done that and once you've got your first contact out of the way and you're probably all hot and sweaty and nervous. Don't forget to log it. Log the time. Log the person that you were in that first contact with. It's one that you'll probably remember for quite a while. But make sure you log it, whatever logging program you happen to use. Skcc does have a logger which works quite well. Although I use that one, I still use my regular one. So I sort of run two logs there. But again, celebrate it a little bit. If I know it's your first contact, I will definitely get a QSL card out to you and mark it on the card for you, so in some cases with some people I'm their first DX contact or whatever, so no problem doing that. And if you look on my QRZ page, it says send me a QSL card. I'll definitely send you one back, and more than happy in many cases to do these. I have people who actually send me a note and say, an email, can we do a first contact? More than happy to do it. Keep it as low-key as possible. Now, one other thing to do, and this is an important one besides logging and celebrating, now get ready so that you have to make a second one. Now, my first day, I did 3 in a row. All right, so it was bang, bang, bang. And so I had 3 contacts the first day. Some people have gone in and done 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. 3 was about all I could handle, and then that was it. I was done. I was a basket case at that point. But the other thing I did do, and what happens now is you have to follow up on that first one. Don't make your first one, and then my advice is don't wait a week or so to make your second one. If you're up to it, make your second contact that same day. If not, then do something like I did. I'm going to show you this just because it was a fun way of doing it. So here we go. Now that's actually a picture of something that's on my wall directly behind my computer, and my computer is beside my radio. So every time I would sit down at my computer, I would see that 1 contact per day, Skcc or POTA. So those became my minimum, that 1 contact per day. And I'll tell you, after a while, when you keep looking at this, every time you look up and you see it, it begins to embed itself in your mind. And on the days when, for whatever reason, I was too busy and I couldn't get on the air, that bothered me after a while, that I wasn't making that 1 contact. But it did get me over that initial fear of, okay, I've got my first contact. Now what do I do for my second, and when do I do it? Always got. Now in my case, I would say 90% of those were Skcc. The POTA ones probably made up most of the rest, and there were a few others in different areas. But staring at that every day definitely helped. Definitely made me want to get on the air and make that contact. So something to think about. And of course, the other thing that helped me quite a bit, which I still use actually to this day, long past the time of absolutely needing it, but it's there. There's a stand, very, very inexpensive dollar store stand. That's where I put my scripts. So they're always within easy reach. All I got to do is turn my head. I can see it, make sure I'm getting everything down. And if for whatever reason I'm nervous, it's a way to settle me down because everything I need to send is sitting right there. So one other little thing that might help you out. So there you go, just a few suggestions. I know a lot of you are reaching that point in your Morse code journey where you're getting ready to get on the air. So hopefully some of this will help you out. And of course, I always look forward to maybe meeting you on the air, which is always fun on my side. I absolutely enjoy it, as I know do many other operators. So if you like the video, if you learned something from it, if you've got a comment, whichever, please like, share, subscribe. YouTube does definitely like when that happens. And again, from VE3 SVQ, the shaky key. I hope you have a wonderful day. 73.